My name is Edward Marshall. I'm 68 years old. And I never imagined that the home I built with my own hands, the home where my wife and I raised our daughter, celebrated birthdays, mourned losses, and collected decades of memories, would one day be sold behind my back by a man who only married into the family but acted like he owned its legacy. I always knew my daughter's husband, Ryan, had a greedy streak in him, the kind of greed that hides behind flashy smiles, fake politeness, and constant talk about investments, deals, and smart opportunities. But I never believed he would cross a line so bold, so calculated, and so cruel that it would change our family forever. After my wife passed, things shifted slowly. The laughter in the house softened, the walls felt heavier, and my daughter, Emily, visited less, always claiming she was busy, always followed by Ryan's voice in the background saying, "Tell your dad we'll stop by next week." But weeks became months, and months became silence. I didn't push. I thought they needed time. But what I didn't know was that while I mourned gently, quietly, alone in the home I loved, Ryan was making moves behind the scenes, whispering into my daughter's ear, convincing her I was getting older, forgetful, unable to manage property, little lies that stack up like bricks until they form a wall of doubt between parent and child. And he succeeded. The first sign came when I received a polite letter from the county office informing me the new owners would need access for an appraisal. New owners? I nearly dropped the letter. I called Emily immediately, but she hesitated before answering, her voice trembling like someone hiding something too heavy. "Dad, there's something we need to talk about," she whispered, and I felt the floor tilt under my feet. When they arrived that evening, Ryan spoke before she could. He flashed that rehearsed salesman smile and said, "Ed, we sold the house. It was the best financial decision, trust me." My heart froze in place. "You did what?" I asked, my voice low, a tone I rarely used unless something was terribly wrong. Ryan stepped forward like he was explaining simple math. "You're living alone in a big house you don't need. We found a buyer. The market is high. You'll move in with us until we figure out something better." He said it as if he were doing me a favor. Emily looked down, tears starting to well up, but she didn't speak. She didn't defend me. She didn't object. And in that moment I realized she had agreed, maybe reluctantly, maybe blindly, but she had allowed him to take away the very home her mother had died in. The final blow came when Ryan added lightly, "Oh, and don't worry, we signed on your behalf. It's all handled." Signed on my behalf. He forged my signature. And he was proud of it. My hands shook not from fear, but from the kind of anger that builds slowly, silently, over years of swallowing words you should have said. But I didn't explode. I didn't shout. I didn't even curse him. Instead, I nodded slowly, breathing deeply, and said, "I see." Because something inside me, something calm, cold, and razor-sharp, had clicked. They thought I was weak. They thought I would obey. They thought they had outsmarted me. But they had no idea what I had prepared for moments exactly like this. The next morning, I left the house before sunrise and drove straight to the lawyer who had helped me redo my legal documents years ago, shortly after my wife's death. My wife had always said, "Ed, protect yourself. You never know how people change when money is involved." And because I trusted her more than anyone, I had listened. My lawyer already knew about Ryan. I had mentioned his greed years earlier, and when I explained what happened, he leaned back, folded his hands, and said, "Edward, they're in serious trouble. You're going to enjoy this." You see, the house wasn't solely in my name anymore. 6 months before my wife died, she and I added a clause, a protective transfer, that legally converted the house into a living trust under my control. Meaning, no contract on that home was valid without my direct, in-person approval and verified signature. Every paper Ryan signed was fraud. Every decision he made was void. Every buyer he spoke to had been scammed. And the best part? My lawyer told me the buyer was not only willing but eager to pursue legal action against whoever misrepresented themselves as the owner. A criminal investigation was inevitable. Identity fraud, forgery, property fraud, contract tampering. Enough charges to end Ryan's financial life forever, but I wasn't done. I asked my lawyer to send one letter, just one, to my daughter's home. Not threatening, not angry, just factual. A copy of the trust documents, a copy of my signature verification, a copy of the fraud report, and a simple sentence at the bottom. I will let the authorities handle the rest. Dad, 2 days later, at nearly midnight, someone pounded on my door. I opened it to find my daughter sobbing, mascara streaking down her cheeks, shaking so hard she could barely stand. "Dad, please," she cried, falling into my arms. "I didn't know." "I didn't know he forged anything. He told me you agreed. He said you were confused sometimes." "He said you signed?" Her voice broke. I held her, but I didn't comfort her the way I used to. I didn't say it was okay. Because it wasn't. She had doubted me. She had chosen convenience over trust. She had married a man who treated her father like an obstacle. But I still loved her. I always will. An hour later, the police arrived at her house and arrested Ryan right in front of her. He screamed, he argued, he called it a misunderstanding, he said I was ruining his life. But the officers didn't care. The forged documents were undeniable. The buyer pressed charges immediately. And as the flashing red and blue lights washed over the street, my daughter collapsed on the porch, staring at the wreckage of the life she thought she had under control. The next morning, I went to court with my lawyer. The judge looked at the trust papers, shook his head at Ryan's stupidity, and dismissed every contract, every sale, every fraudulent claim he had made. The house was legally, unquestionably, entirely mine. When I walked out of that courthouse, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved. Because for the first time in a long time, I realized I wasn't as powerless as they assumed. And that is a lesson they will never forget. My daughter is rebuilding her life now. Away from him. Away from manipulation. She apologized genuinely, not with excuses, but with accountability. I forgave her, slowly but sincerely. She asks to visit often now. She sits in her mother's old garden chair behind the house she almost lost for me. And sometimes she cries quietly, running her fingers over the worn wood, whispering apologies to a woman who isn't here to forgive her. As for me, I'm still in my home. My wife's rose bush still bloom at the front gate. Her photos still hang on the wall. Her voice still echoes in the halls when I think about the past, and every day when I walk through this house, I remind myself of one truth. A home isn't just walls and floors. It is the proof that some things are worth fighting for. And I fought. And I won. And he never expected it.